Let's know who is Rick and what is he doing here?
So BuiltSpace is a digital platform. FM means data, not documents. The data isn't available in the right format at the right time.
We all try our best to do our best in the project.
Welcome to the BIM Student Podcast. In this podcast, we talk to leaders, followers, innovators, and adopters from our AEC industry. Like a student, I ask questions that we all wanted to ask on our digital transformation journey, but never actually did. I explore concept, products, ideas, and future possibilities in digital transformation space. Each week, I meet with an amazing guest from the industry. I look forward to learn something new, share new experiences, thoughts and opinions, and how to make BIM journey better for everybody across the board.
In today's episode, I will be talking to Rick Ralston. Rick is the president at BuiltSpace Technologies Corporation, a company that develops technologies that is changing how facilities are managed by creating a secure but shared building management platform for operations and maintenance. We will talk to Rick how quality BIM data helps their technology to create a perfect service twin for facilities management. Let's listen in. Welcome to my podcast, Rick. I'm so glad you took out time from your busy schedule and talk to us and be a guest on this podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chetna. It's wonderful to be here and to have an opportunity to have this chat and talk about FM and BIM and the whole life cycle.
Okay, great. Let's first of all get to know who Rick is. I know there are a lot of people from our CAN BIM and building transformation community that do know you, but this podcast reaches way beyond that. So let's know who is Rick and what is he doing here?
Sure, thank you. And first of all, I guess my title would be president and co-founder of BuiltSpace Technologies based in Vancouver. My background is being in construction and digital transformation for 30 plus years. I started with perhaps the first digital construction subscription product before the internet was even around, and that was a selective fax service, and that led into eventually being one of the technical architects behind construction.com, which eventually, after 16 years of construction-related transformation, I guess, we started to look at the post-handover existing environment facilities and how do we digitalize the facilities management end of the life cycle for buildings. So we're for many years in this space, and I think have had a little bit of a hand, at least in making some positive changes in the industry.
Okay, and right now, because you're president and BuiltSpace, what does BuiltSpace do?
So BuiltSpace is a digital platform. One could call it an IoT platform. The platform is named Service Twin. So in effect, that gives a hint that what we're doing is digital services in the built environment. So, and that can range from early stage pre-construction services through procurement, through job site construction services, and post handover to everything from security to cleaning washrooms and janitorial and mechanical, electrical maintenance, operation, and repairs.
And when you say service twin, does it have something to do with the digital twin?
It does, and if you think of digital twin in terms of a 3D model of a physical object, that object has to be serviced and maintained and operated, and so our focus is on twinning the service side of it, the operations, the maintenance, the processes. Sometimes those are what people do, and sometimes they're what automated services, sensors, and so forth do, but connected to the business process of managing that asset, whatever it happens to be.
When you look at, you have so much experience behind you, when you look at construction, architecture, engineering, this whole community and industry right now, where do you see we are right now in terms of FM, especially when we are talking about the BIM and the digital twin? And where do you see FM is right now?
I think, in the majority of the buildings, FM means starting from scratch after construction. If you're lucky, you have PDFs of some cut sheets or some drawings, as-built drawings marked up or whatever. But it is actually a pretty sad state because we've spent millions and millions of dollars building these new buildings, and the handover is really lacking in terms of the facility side. And so my mantra is FM needs data, not documents, and so we have to get there, and that, in my view, means we have to start on the construction site with capturing real-time data from the processes, from everything from pouring concrete to installing energy meters and water meters at the in order to capture the resource use data. So it is truly digital transformation, and it's we need to get away from this document-based construction process. And the sad thing in my view is, we've for now 30 years been working with BIM, only to have that BIM model set aside essentially for documents on the construction site, and then the data from the documents never gets back into that BIM or into a digital twin that's usable for the FM side. So it's a difficult problem, but I think we've made some really serious progress in making it more streamlined.
Okay, there are a couple of questions that are coming right. And like I said, I'm totally going to forget the questions I was going to ask you. This is going to be a whole set of new questions. When you say FM is all about actually data and nothing about the documents, but when a project is handovered, we do, and I'm now being the advocate for our industry, we do hand over the documents that are rich in data. Where is the problem?
Well, the problem really is you have to read the document, and the best technology we have today is doing character recognition and natural language processing and so forth, but it's not giving us the data that we need as FM operators to use that data for predictive analytics or for operations and maintenance, or what we broadly call service orchestration, which is hey, I've got data that's telling me that this happened in the past, and therefore I should be looking at applying this process to correct whatever the issue is, whether it's water intrusion or clogged air filters. There's so much opportunity to use data-driven process to improve the efficiency and reduce the cost of operations that we haven't been able to accomplish because the data isn't available in the right format at the right time. And I think the industry is making progress towards that. And certainly things like ISO 19650 are specifically addressing that need for data objects in a common data environment that extends through the full life cycle from design to operations and so forth. So I think we're getting there, and but it's been 30 plus years to date. We're not there yet.
I think and this is my personal observation, and I'm just going to be adding to what you're saying, I feel we do have, if not all, but a foundation of data on which FM can build up their process, but that data is not in a format that can be used, or it's not there is no medium that can translate that data into a program that can be used. Do you think my observation's right that way?
I think that has been correct in the past, and I will make the argument that we are specifically addressing what we would call the point of service. So if you're creating as built today, and it's done on a PDF markup, to get that data from that PDF markup is basically a manual process. But if I can put that data into a common data environment as a data object, I use a very simple example: make, model, serial number. We want to have an as-built lets us know what the equipment actually is, and how do we so that we can bring the right parts or the right filter size or whatever it is that we're using on the FM side. But capturing that data, and there are attributes in the BIM for make, model, serial number, but they've never or seldom been completely filled out and updated. And so we need to do that as part of the installation and commissioning of whatever that equipment is. And we can now do that in real time and be able to say, okay, that VAV box was element ID such and such in the BIM, and it was this make, model, and serial number. And we're now capturing that, and we need to also be able to say, okay, where's the power shutdown and lockout locations and so forth, so that the person going there the next time to actually service it knows what they're doing, what they're getting, what they need to do going forward. So, it's big opportunities there.
Yeah, and I feel also I know. And everybody, I've once had a conversation with a very close friend of mine in industry, and they said that we all try our best to do our best in the project, whether it's architects, engineers, contractors, trades. Nobody tries to do a bad job on purpose.
No.
Nobody tries to not input stuff that they should input.
Yeah.
No, but help me understand from an FM perspective, and starting from where these projects start, right from an architect's table or right from the construction documents when they're issued for site, how do we as design and construction professionals know that this is relevant data and this might be going down the chain to FM and they can use it? And this is something that might be usable for me right now, but we don't need to do it and give it in the handover.
Well, I think that has been, the problem that the BIM community has faced for years and years and years. It's to update an individual attribute, like a model number you may get the specified model, but what's the as-built? The cost of going back and updating that is just out of the budget. There's no way it's going to happen if it's done as a manual process by the BIM studio, if you will. As the designer, if you know that it's just going to your work is just going to result in a 2D printed document or PDF that never gets updated, there's no point in doing it. So I think if we can find ways in which, I think we're well along this path to be able to say, now, we can take the data threads that are being generated in the BIM and put them directly on the job site in someone's hand with a mobile device, so that they're verifying that data as they're installing or commissioning or reviewing the site as the engineer. And now it goes into the handover document as what I would call a high fidelity digital twin, if you will. And it's got, a 50, 60 year future of providing that data for that building. Now all of a sudden you've got a completely different economic, because it's cheaper to collect that data in the field because it's done as part of the process, and it's providing value to the designer to say, we actually specified this for a reason, and it actually held, or it didn't hold, or it wasn't installed at all, which is sometimes the case. And from the FM side, in some sense, almost everything's important, right? Like it's was that roofing membrane properly installed? Because if it didn't, or it wasn't thick enough, or it was done in the rain or by an uncertified installer, that's a problem down the road, and it could be a critical point in an insurance claim. Or one of the biggest issues in the industry is floods, right? Like there's leaks from mechanical equipment that the condensate drain is not properly installed, and it leaks. And I heard of an instance the other day, a brand new building, that it was a student residence. The students walk in, and the first day the ceiling collapses on them because of the flood. So any of the data in there could be important, and so the better quality we can make it, the better, if it can be done economically. And I think the other piece is, all of the benefit doesn't go to the FM, because if I can capture the data on the construction site in real time and update the BIM, I'm seeing my building being constructed digitally from the data coming from the physical. And so now that data is available to say, are we on schedule? Are we pouring enough concrete every day? Or what percentage of the mechanical piping has been installed? Or where are we at on the electrical? And more importantly, when can we schedule the next job? As opposed to the traditional method of here's your 2-week window to do this work, and then so that, can we cut that down to 1 week? Can we cut it to 5 days? Can we use data from concrete sensors to pull our forms a day earlier, or any of that kind of data-driven construction, which in the old days, and I'm talking, where you get into the boardroom with sticky tapes and or sticky pads, that is now potentially moving to, I can dynamically, or more dynamically, I'm not saying this is going to happen perfectly, but I can more dynamically schedule the resources, based on real data, as opposed to waiting till the end of the week or till there's a change in the schedule and putting everybody at risk. And today with lead time on equipment and so forth, the potential to have things go wrong is worse than ever. So it's now a question of, okay, we have to manage the labor resources, which are also shortage, but we also have to manage the material flow and the logistics and the equipment availability and inventorying of equipment. When does this pallet need to be on site? So there's so many different areas where there can be efficiency improvement if we have that transformation. And going back to my earlier comment about data and documents, we still need to get sign off on things. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of engineer seals that have to go on paper. Mm-hmm. But we need to not manage that approval process. We need to better manage the construction process. The actual, we're putting concrete in the form or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I think I have like 20 more questions with me right now. And with all this discussion, I think right now is a perfect time to have a small deviation from what we were talking about.
Okay.
This is the time for our impossible questionnaire.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I hate to, disrupt the flow of our discussion here, but I think it's a perfect time to disrupt this. So let's do our impossible questionnaire, and then we get back to our discussion about data and FM. So okay. These are going to be like 3 really, really difficult questions about, like if ever you've read like National Building Code or like a provincial building code, there's this one line that we never read when we study for it. So it might be like one of those lines, like, what is the size of ramp in so-and-so situation, like that. So it's going to be really like typical and really challenging. So
okay, throw it at me.
And just FYI, if I didn't have this Word document in front of me, I wouldn't know answers to these questions too. So let's dive into our impossible questionnaire. Our first question is, what are the weights of 8 mm, 12 mm, 16 mm, 20 mm, and 25 mm dia bars per meter? So I'm going to give you a question. Okay, let's do this. Let's just do the 8 mm and the 12 mm. So 8 mm is 0.395 and 12 mm is 0.89. Or 8 mm is 0.345 and 12 mm is 1.5. Okay, all these are kgs, by the way. And I'm getting confused here. Who wrote this question?
I'll answer that question very quickly. That's an impossible question. I don't know.
Okay, right now I am getting confused that what is this guy? What does he write here? Okay, what are the weights of 8 mm and 12 mm dia bars per meter? 8 mm is 0.395 and 12 mm is 0.89. 8 mm is 0.345 and 12 mm is 0.875. 8 mm is 0.455 and 12 mm is 0.567.
I don't know. So I'll ask you, what percentage of your audience could get that?
I don't know. We don't have a live audience, but we could use if we really were on like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of. We would use phone a friend.
Yeah, phone a friend. That's
or phone a Google.
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, as I say, I don't design the buildings, and I have no knowledge of what that is.
Okay, so I'm just going to enlighten you. So an 8 bar is 0.395 kgs per meter, and a 12 bar is 0.89 kgs per meter.
Okay, very good.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little.
I'll keep that in the back of my
For
mind here.
next question, I'm gonna go a little easy on you and myself because this was confusing for me too. Okay, in construction, seasoning of timber is essentially done because A, to smoothen the timber surface, to remove the knots from the timber logs, to increase the strength and durability. D, to improve the appearance. Why do we remove the knots? Why do we do the seasoning?
The seasoning, I would have said that would be to reduce moisture and protect the wood, but
that's not even an option.
I know. So I can. So again, can you give me the questions, and I'll give you an A, B, or C.
To smoothen the surface, to remove the knots, to increase the strength and durability, to improve the appearance.
I'll improve strength and durability, I would say, which is
which is obvious. Like everything can come later, right? Okay.
Okay.
Last question. Have you ever worked on an airport project?
On an airport project? No.
Okay, so then this is a perfect question for you. The runway orientation is made so the landing and the takeoff are against the direction of wind, along the direction of wind, perpendicular to the direction of wind, does not matter.
It is generally along the direction of wind, so it's in line with the direction of wind in one way or another.
No, it's against the direction of wind.
Well, yes. Okay.
Okay, I'm not going to be asking any more difficult questions here.
Okay.
We're done here. We're done. On the torture ends here.
Okay, perfect. Let's get back to something we understand.
Yes. So this is the part where I focus on this is not just to sum up, but like how we look at our topic of discussion for today, which is data, and how is BIM one of the sources and one of the aids when we come to using the data for FM. So how would you say that an approach, a data-oriented approach, is a rose, a bud, and a thorn? Rose being the benefit for today, bud being a benefit that we see in future, and a thorn is like a side effect or a challenge when we say that we need to have a data-oriented approach to BIM, especially with context to FM, and especially in context with handing over the project. What is the rose, bud, and thorn for that kind of approach?
I would say the rose with respect to BIM and handover is really that it is the framework for a digital model of the building through its life cycle. And it has the fidelity, especially, we'll probably talk about Kobe and IFC and all that in the next segment. But to me, the fidelity really gets down to the fine detail and the attributes associated with that detailed information that is essential to I think the the handover of a digital twin of that asset, whatever it happens to be. So the benefit is that we're starting off with the right approach. The thorn is that we don't keep going, and that there's that there has in the past been this lack of continuity of the data stream through the construction phase and through post-construction and operation. And the thorn is, in my view, that the industry has not kept the it's been very much risk mitigation oriented, and as a result of that, it's created processes that are stopping or serious barriers to ever getting there unless we sort of transform those processes. And for example, today most of the professional engineers are required to seal documents throughout the process, but they have no there's no way to seal a data flow. So it's basically saying, hey, you can't do this, and therefore, how do we get to that next step? If ISO, going back to 19650, it says deliver a data object, to the end customer. But if that data object is something that the professional engineering society or association says has to be a sealed document, we're stuck. And so technology, I think, is outpacing industry regulation and compliance and so forth in those areas. So it's not going to happen quickly, but we do need to have a sort of transforming those and providing regulatory oversight over data streams. And that to me is one of the biggest problems right now.
Right. I mean, I did want to ask you the barriers for in the way of, like, the way we see as FM as using, but you already addressed it. I mean, and that was one of the questions I wanted to ask, that what are the barriers and how do we remove those barriers that are in our way right now? I want to talk a little bit before, we call it the end of this, a little bit more about the format of data, especially in context with COBie. Right now, I feel, at least, and that's my limited experience, not many people, first of all, understand what COBie is. Okay. Leave apart the format in which it needs to be arranged for data to be transferred or data to be exchanged between parties. So if you have to explain COBie to like somebody who doesn't understand much, what is COBie and how is it useful for FM?
Well, I'm a bit of a heretic here, but to me, like, COBie is a CSV file, essentially of equipment that doesn't really have enough data in it for my liking, and it has been used in the past as a transfer of maintainable equipment from the BIM to a CMMS system.
Right.
And I won't even get onto, but CMMS is a 40-year-old technology, which is basically a spreadsheet itself. And so, yes, it's better than nothing, but as we move to the next step, we need to have the IFC level data that's in the BIM directly as part of the common data environment that's handed over, and is used by our applications like our own mobile app to update that the metadata in the attributes in individual elements in that BIM model. So, as built as data, we need that to be related directly to the elements in that BIM, and therefore, we need to go deeper, and that's very few people are sort of thinking that way, but it has to be ultimately part of this. And so the BIM will be a living example of what that building is over time, and it changes over time, and it has the fourth dimension service records and actual when that equipment gets changed out, it gets changed out in the BIM. So that's where we have to go, and the industry is now, I think, ready to say, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think we are ready. It's just that I don't know. There are a lot of people who right on the fence, like, where do we really take this step? I mean, I'll tell you, this is a very interesting conversation I had with a prospective client, and I was trying to educate them about the whole life cycle. And they're a medium-sized architecture company who does amazing projects. And I was explaining to them that how just a few lines in description will help go a long way when this, let's say, pipe or this duct is being seen by a pipe fitter or a duct fitter. Like, if you just add that and just add a couple of lines that what is the intent behind it, it just makes everybody's life so easy. And we were also discussing about the file formats and the data exchange and everything. And one question that they asked me, and I did not know how to answer that, is, but we don't get paid to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So especially our designers do not get enough, one, remuneration, and another, training and awareness that how important their input is right at the start of the project, so that data can be used by FM. And also, I feel like right now there's a big discussion, but nothing concrete is coming out of a BIM as a legal deliverable. If we cross that hurdle, that BIM becomes a legal deliverable, just like a lot of government organizations, they ask for CAD files, they ask for I've been working on infrastructure projects, and the companies, they ask for DGN files or files like that. I think it has to be also an aware client that asks that we need BIM as a deliverable, and this is the format, and this is what we need it for. It might become a little easier for designers down the line to deliver what they want.
And my argument would be that it's not up to the designers to capture the data or provide the intent. If there's an intent that should either come from the owner's requirements, right? We need this to happen because, or if it's downstream, and it's the mechanical or electrical contractor installing this work, or commissioning the work, it's probably an engineering firm that is actually saying, well, this is how this was intended to work, and it's at that point that we should be capturing that data for the operator to say, here's the this was commissioned for this purpose, and this is how it's designed to work, and sequence of operations or whatever it is, and we can now pass that on, I don't get paid to do that is that's a problem that goes from the general contractor all the way through everything. So it's a problem because it's information that's excluded is money saved. So that's if we can get away with it, let's do that, right? That's the unfortunate problem all the way along, which then gets us back to, okay, who benefits from this, and how do we get the owner's requirements to state that I need this data so that I can pass it on to the FM people that are actually doing this work, and it's an endless circle, right? So
yeah, okay, so I think right now where we are in this discussion, there are a million other questions that I'm going to be starting to ask. We might run out of a lot of time.
Okay.
And as much as I'm enjoying having this discussion with you, just in the with the respect for time and commitments that we all have, I'm so glad we're having this discussion, and I would really want to bring you back for talking about the next steps of how are we, like I said, just this question that what is relevant data and what is irrelevant data can make another podcast in itself. So
yeah, absolutely. And how can we bring automated data, sensor data, IoT data into the entire process from design through operations? Because
right, yeah,
there's plenty of room to automate, especially for things like health and safety and concrete pouring and noise levels and all sorts of different things that are required for a healthy, safe, and economical, efficient site. So.
Yeah, I would love to hear all of that, and I'm being greedy for like more episodes with you. So let's bring you back for another episode in the future and talk more about this stuff. But for now, we have to call it a day.
Absolutely, happy to do that, Chetna, and happy to have conversations offline with anyone that would like to chat.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Rick. Really, really, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Talk again soon. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.